Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for our February the 27th lesson in A Course in Miracles workbook for students from the original edition, Lesson 58. My holiness envelops everything I see. My holiness blesses the world. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. My holiness is my salvation. I am blessed as a son of God. These ideas are for review today. My holiness envelops everything I see. From my holiness does the perception of the real world come. From my holiness does the perception of the real world come. And I kind of think of holiness as a sacred oneness, a wholeness that we all share. Having forgiven, I no longer see myself as guilty. Having forgiven, I no longer see myself as guilty. I no longer see myself as guilty. I can accept the innocence that is the truth about me. Seen through understanding eyes, the holiness of the world is all I see, for I can picture only the thoughts I hold about myself. Lesson 37 review. My holiness blesses the world. The perception of my holiness does not bless me alone. Everyone and everything I see in its light shares in the joy it brings to me. There's nothing that is apart from this joy, because there is nothing that does not share my holiness, my sacred oneness. As I recognize my holiness, so does the holiness of the world shine forth for everyone to see. Sometimes I think that maybe holiness is one of those kind of words that almost isn't understandable in this world. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. My holiness is unlimited in its power to heal, because it is unlimited in its power to save. What is there to be saved from except illusions? And what are all illusions except false ideas about myself? My holiness undoes them all by asserting the truth about me. In the presence of my holiness, which I share with God Himself, all idols vanish. My holiness is my salvation. Since my holiness saves me from all guilt, recognizing my holiness is recognizing my salvation. It is also recognizing the salvation of the world. Once I have accepted my holiness, nothing can make me afraid. And because I am unafraid, everyone must share in my understanding, which is the gift of God to me and to the world. My holiness is my salvation. And the last review, Lesson 40, I am blessed as a son of God. Herein lies my claim to all good and only good. I am blessed as a son of God. All good things are mine, because God intended them for me. I cannot suffer any loss or deprivation or pain because of who I am. My Father supports me, protects me, and directs me in all things. His care for me is infinite and is with me forever. I am eternally blessed as His son. My holiness envelops everything I see. My holiness envelops the world. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. My holiness is my salvation. I am blessed as a son of God. All right, let's go take a look in our text reading, chapter 13, From Perception to Knowledge. And we are on, we're reading through the section, the decision for guiltlessness. And today we're ready for paragraph 79. But I think I'd like to start in a little sooner, maybe even paragraph 77, and we'll look at that. But while you're turning there, This is in the family of the cucurbits, and it's the Bushel basket gourd. I wish I had one to show you, but I haven't really grown one this year. I did grow one time, but I don't have it. At least I planted some seeds. It didn't do as good as I had expected. They're a pretty good sized gourd. It says that they can get about 3 to 5 foot in circumference. So, that's going to be, 1 to 2 foot diameter. It's the biggest ones that I could find so far, though. And with what I was telling you yesterday, I've always envisioned like this huge giant gourd that you'd go up in about halfway and put a wood floor in there. You'd cut windows and doors in it, and you'd basically build a house. Put some paint on the outside if you needed to, or varnish or lacquer or something, and you'd live in a gourd. Anyway, I know that we're centuries from developing that, or likely, but who knows? It all starts with a thought, doesn't it? Wouldn't it be cool just getting ready to start a family, and you just make sure that someone gives you a little piece of land, you go out there and plant a gourd, and then you move in that fall? Anyway, just an idea. It says these Bushel basket gourds, which are about as big as you could get, they're going to make maybe a cat house or maybe a small dog house. Gurney's has them, and they're the variety, the genus and species of these Bushel basket gourds are I think it's Legionaria ciceraria. And anyway, they grow 3 to 5 foot in circumference, and they're 25 to 60 pounds. Harvest when stem is dry before frost, 110 to 120 day. Each vine will produce 1 to 3 gourds. So, just some neat things about these gourds. We got to start somewhere, just developing different plants. If farmers, as they just grow things year after year, have in their mind what they would like to pass on to their great-great-grandchildren, that's kind of the idea. And you'll pass the information of what you're trying to do on also, so that those who take your seeds and plants and keep growing them and know where you're headed, and they can add to it. All right, paragraph, let's start with 77, and we'll read through the end of this section. The one who knows the plan of God which God would have you follow can teach you what it is. Only His wisdom is capable of guiding you to follow it. Every decision you undertake alone but signifies that you would define what salvation is and what you would be saved from. The Holy Spirit knows that all salvation is escape from guilt. The Holy Spirit knows that all salvation is escape from guilt. You have no other enemy, and against this strange distortion of the purity of the Son of God, the Holy Spirit is your only friend. He is the strong protector of your innocence, which sets you free. And it is His decision to undo everything that would obscure your innocence from your unclouded mind. 78. Let Him therefore be the only guide that you would follow to salvation. He knows the way and leads you gladly on it. With Him you will not fail to learn what God wills for you is your will. Without His guidance you will think you know alone, and will decide against your peace as surely as you made the wrong decision in everything that salvation lay in you alone. Salvation is of Him to whom God gave it for you. He has not forgotten it. Forget Him not, and He will make every decision for you, for your salvation and the peace of God in you. Wow, make every decision for us. Remember yesterday we were learning we don't want to make decisions alone in our separated state, our ego-contrived state. We want to learn to listen to the voice for God. Remember what He said to do when we think that we're forgetting? Where did He say that? Was that yes? Was that yeah? He says in actually, I'm thinking we're getting ready to read it. Excuse me. So we're getting ready to read this. He's going to give us something to consider. Ready for paragraph 79. Seek not to appraise the worth of God's Son, whom He created holy, for to do so is to evaluate his father and judge against him. And you will feel guilty for this imagined crime, which no one in this world or heaven could possibly commit. A crime that no one could commit, because it's all in your own mind. What's he say? Seek not to appraise the worth of God's Son, whom he created holy, for to do so is to evaluate his father and judge against him, and you will feel guilty for this imagined crime, which no one in this world or heaven could possibly commit. God's Spirit teaches only that the sin of self-replacement on the throne of God is not a source of guilt. God's Spirit teaches only that the sin, in quotes, of self-replacement on the throne of God is not a source of guilt, because it's an imagination. It's not something you can really do. It's not a crime that you could really commit. What cannot happen can have no effects to fear. Be quiet in your faith in him who loves you and would lead you out of insanity. Madness may be your choice, but not your reality. Madness may be your choice, but not your reality. Never forget the love of God who has remembered you. For it is quite impossible that he could ever let his Son drop from his loving mind, wherein he was created and where his abode was fixed in perfect peace forever. 80. Say to the Holy Spirit only, decide for me. Say to the Holy Spirit only, decide for me. And it is done. For his decisions are reflections of what God knows about you, and in this light, error of any kind becomes impossible. Why would you struggle so frantically to anticipate all that you cannot know, when all knowledge lies behind every decision which the Holy Spirit makes for you? Let's listen to that again. Why would you struggle so frantically to anticipate all that you cannot know, when all knowledge lies behind every decision which the Holy Spirit makes for you? That's why we want to learn to listen to the Holy Spirit. Learn of his wisdom and his love, and teach his answer to everyone who struggles in the dark. For you decide for them and for yourself. How gracious is it to decide all things through him whose equal love is given equally to all alike. He leaves you no one outside yourself, alone without you. And so he gives you what is yours, because your Father would have you share it with him. In everything be led by him, and do not reconsider. In everything be led by the voice for God in you, and do not reconsider. Trust him to answer quickly, surely, and with love for everyone who will be touched in any way by the decision. Listen to that. Trust him to answer quickly, surely, and with love for everyone who will be touched in any way by the decision. And everyone will be touched by the decision. Would you take unto yourself the sole responsibility for deciding what can bring only good to everyone? Of course not. Would you know this? Of course not. 82. You taught yourself the most unnatural habit of not communicating with your Creator. You taught yourself the most unnatural habit of not communicating with your Creator. Yet you remain in close communication with him and with everything that is within him as it is within yourself. Unlearn isolation through his loving guidance, and learn of all the happy communication that you have thrown away but could not lose. Isn't that nice to know? Unlearn isolation through his loving guidance, and learn all the happy communication that you have thrown away but could not lose. Whenever you are in doubt what you should do, think of his presence in you, and tell yourself this and only this. And this is what I was wanting to share with you a while ago. Whenever you are in doubt about what you should do, think of his presence in you, and tell yourself this and only this. He leadeth me and knows the way which I know not. Yet he will never keep from me what he would have me learn. And so I trust him to communicate to me all that he knows for me. Then let him teach you quietly how to perceive your guiltlessness, which is already there. Wow, isn't that beautiful? So let's learn whenever we doubt what we should do, think of His presence in you and tell yourself this and only this: He leadeth me and knows the way which I know not, yet He will never keep from me what He would have me learn, and so I trust Him to communicate to me all that He knows for me. Then let Him teach you quietly how to perceive your guiltlessness, which is already there. Okay, lesson 58. My holiness envelops everything I see. My holiness blesses the world. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. My holiness is my salvation. I am blessed as a son of God.